guys, welcome back to the Thorn 100 Motorcycles YouTube channel. My name's Jody and today we're going to be getting back to our roots a little bit here at Thorn 100 and doing some hard engineering and creating something completely from scratch and completely bespoke and exciting as well. So we've got our race winning desert bobber here, which is based on one of our super light bikes with all of the carbon components, all of the titanium components, titanium exhaust, and this bike has been my hack for the whole of the summer and I've had so much fun and done thousands of miles on it, but I think it's time for a little bit of a refresh and also to make it go faster as well, which is what we love doing here at Thorn 100. Now the way we're going to do that is we're going to use one of these, which is a centrifugal supercharger supplied by Rotrex. Richard at TTS in Portsea, so he's helped us get our hands on one of them. So we're going to be strapping that to the side, engineering our own side cases, reshuffling how all of this intake works, reshuffling how the exhaust works. I'm also going to be doing lots of engine work as well, and I'm going to be explaining exactly what we're doing, while we're doing it, and how we're going to do it as well. And hopefully we're going to end up with a sub 10-second quarter mile Triumph bobber, and also something that I'm going to be able to enjoy and run and ride and race next year as well. I'm hoping to get over 200 horsepower at the rear wheel with this one as well. We're doing as much limited engine work as possible because these Triumph engines are very strong and we know that it's capable as well. So we've got lots to do, so we're going to jump in now with the scanning, designing and engineering that we love doing here, and stay tuned to see what we get up to. Okay, so first things first, going to make some space. So a lot of the supercharger kits that you will have seen on Triumph bobbers before are the TTS kit, and what that does is it puts the supercharger at the front here. Now that's fine, but with our bike, because we're going to be using it off-road and in harsh environments, potentially on more sand, and we're going to potentially be getting up to some crazy stuff as well, I just want it tucked up the back here, out of the way. So there's going to be lots of different things that we're going to be doing on this bike that's slightly different to a normal supercharger system. For example, we're not going to be using an air-to-air intercooler. We're going to be using a water methanol injection tank. That means that we can basically make this system probably more reliable actually, because what we've found with air-to-air intercoolers is where they've got to sit at the front of the bike and you have the boosted air that's come out of the compressor housing out of this supercharger. This is really hot, so you've got to cool it down somehow, and most of the time you see a big radiator hanging down the front of the bike there, which is pretty much the only place you can put it on these bobbers. But the problem is with that, if you're going to be racing it off-road, hitting rocks, doing crazy stuff, you're going to end up with a really vulnerable part of the bike, and as well we'll end up with boost leaks and lots of issues in the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the supercharger back here. That's the plan anyway, as long as there's space for it. Obviously that means that the exhaust has got to go, and that means that we've got lots of engineering to do here as well. So just going to take this exhaust off now and see where we can fit this supercharger, and I'll talk you through the supercharger a little bit more in a second. Supercharger could potentially sit about there, which is quite nice. We're going to lose access to our oil filler cap here, but if we're going to replace this case or even modify it, we can move this over here and block this off permanently. So let me explain a little bit more about this supercharger we have right here. So driving the impeller obviously happens off of a pulley on the engine. So the way that that works is through a planetary reduction gear system as well. So we use no gears or in here technically, or they are gears, but they work off of a friction system. So let me explain a little bit further. So this pulley is going to be spinning. So for every 1 time this pulley spins, the impeller spins 12.67 times. So you can see how slow I'm spinning this outside one. That's probably half a rotation, and that's done 6 turns. So the way that that works with a planetary gear system is we have the engine side, so we have a supercharger here. We have our engine side, which spins, which is this side, and it's connected to a like a flywheel inside here. So that flywheel, this is engine side. So this is spinning 1 times, okay? Then what we have is we have 3 rollers which sit inside here, and then we have our impeller shaft which sits on the other side, which is that here as well.
Show us again.
Which is this impeller here. So for every 1 times this spins, these gears here spin inside, and this will spin 12.67 times. Now, we can't spin this impeller faster than 150,000 RPM, so we've got a little bit of maths to do, very simple maths to do, to calculate what is our maximum engine RPM, what sort of gearing reduction system we're going to need to spin this to its maximum RPM without going over, and also accounting for a little bit of leeway in case we over rev the engine, and making sure that we can spin that impeller at the correct speed as well, and be creating the right amount of boost to push into this engine at the right amount of air density as well, without creating too much turbulence or any issues like that as well. No cavitation or crazy stuff going on impeller blade. So moving forward, job number one, how are we going to mount this in here, and then how are we going to get air into it, and then how are we going to get that air into the engine on both sides as well. So I need a little bit of thinking to figure out what we're going to do, and I'm probably going to do some sketches now, try and figure out how we're going to make everything fit and how we're going to make it work. Air filter shape, seeing if, well, Evan had a nice idea for the air filter, because we put cone filters on everything, and to be fair, every other custom bike builder in the world puts cone filters on their bikes, but we're not every other custom bike builder in the world, obviously with Thornton 100, so we're going to do a nice job on a custom flat panel filter air filter inside. So as you can see, I've just stripped down the whole top end of the engine. Now there's two main reasons why I've done this. So reason number one is to replace the fragile cast pistons that come standard with these bikes to a forged piston. So this is much stronger, stamped, so the grain structure inside, this is going to align better, this is going to be all over the shop and going to be fragile, this is going to be much stronger. But the main reason we've taken the top end of this engine apart is to change compression ratio. Okay, right, so it's a ratio between bottom dead center and top dead center. So what we need to do now is discuss one of the main issues in boosted engine, forced induction engines, which is what this is going to be, and that's called knock. So knock occurs in boosted engines, and I'll draw you a diagram of two different types of engine here, and this is going to be an NA engine with a high compression ratio. So what you're going to have here is your piston at top dead center, and then you're going to have your spark plug here, and then what you're going to have is a really small gap in here, and what in that small gap you're going to have lots of air and fuel molecules really tightly packed up. Now in a naturally aspirated engine, that's fantastic, because in spark ignition engines you have something called a flame front, and that flame front is ignited with the spark plug, and as you ignite the spark plug, all of these air and fuel molecules are going to be really tightly packed in together. So what you're going to have is a really efficient transfer of the burn across the cylinder, nice and evenly, as you can come up, compress and ignite. So that's going to be really great in NA engines because it's really efficient, and it allows all those air and fuel molecules to be really tightly packed in and to push the piston down when you ignite it. Now the problem that you have in a boosted engine is all of the heat, all of the air and fuel that's going into the engine is already really hot. So as your piston comes up, you have a tendency or a risk to produce something called knock. Now knock, as you come up with your piston on a boosted engine, because everything's so hot and so tightly packed in together, if you had a normal high compression ratio like in a naturally aspirated engine, you're going to risk of igniting fuel before you want to. So you're essentially going to have an explosion as your piston is still coming up, and it's going to damage your piston, bend rods and stuff like that as well. So what we're going to do is increase the distance between here, so essentially reducing the compression ratio. So all of your air and fuel molecules are going to have a little bit more space in between them. So as you come up and you're boosting air, you boosted air in, your flame front is going to be much cooler, and everything's going to be running much cooler as well. So that's going to allow us to reduce the risk of knock or pre-detonation in our engine. So the way that we're going to increase the space or reduce the compression ratio is to alter the top of the piston. Now, as you can see, this is a standard piston. There's lots of material here. If you dig in with a cutter and then you just take out all of that material, you're going to increase the amount of space in the top of the piston here, reducing the compression ratio and also reducing the risk of knock in our engine, or pre-detonation or exploding it. So that's a very simplified term, simplified way of putting it, but that's compression ratio. We're going to reduce the compression ratio for our boosted engine with these new pistons. So I'm going to get these in now, get the engine back together, and then we can carry on with our full supercharger build. So these are your piston rings. So when you create that spark in your combustion cylinder, cylinder, engine, this is what seals it from the bottom end of the engine. So this is where all your flame front is, this is where all your compression is happening, it's where your fuel and everything lives. So you don't want all of that seeping around and leaking down the side of the piston. So you have a top ring, a secondary ring, and then you have these rings here, which are your oil scraper control rings. So these essentially control the lubrication on the side of the cylinder wall. So they scrape up a thin film of oil and they control how much oil lives on there, so you're not burning oil in your engine, and also make sure that everything stays lubricated and cool mainly as well. So I'm just going to pop these out. We're going to retain these. I'm not going to change the rings or anything like that. On a higher boosted application or a race engine you would, but we don't need to, not in this application. So these are very delicate, so you need to be very careful with this as we pop it out, and then we'll transfer it over to the new pistons, and then we will be good to go with a top end rebuild. Real bad man. You have to be so careful with these. Move them up evenly. Don't get them caught on anything, just pop them in like that, nice and easy. I feel like this is like just like a nice ASMR wind down evening video.
Yeah, really ASMR.
Evan, do your ASMR.
Let me. Go.
Just try not to spill it. I always do though. Oh, there it is. Oh. Yeah.
You actually.
Joe, go away. That's too fine. Engine is rebuilt, and we need to move on to the next stage, which is 3D printing our supercharger mount and stuff like that. But obviously, once we've boosted our air out of the supercharger, which is going to live about here, we need to put it into some sort of plenum, some big chamber that equalises both cylinders and then boosts the air around into the engine. Now, this is off of one of our big power kits, supercharger kits that we offer for our customers. But as you can see, the way that this lives on the bike, our inlet is around there, because we usually have a big intercooler that lives there, that goes up and round, and comes in the other side. But because we're not running an intercooler on this one, we're going to be running the water meth injection to cool it. We don't need this. So I thought, to save some money and time on this project, which is something that we never do, we always just throw crazy cash at things. But I said, right, let's just reuse this. So this line, I'm going to cut it down there, and then we'll be able to weld a nice plate on the end of that. And then we'll weld an inlet pipe tube out of the compressor housing, and this will just save us a lot of time. So hopefully we can get racing sooner, and also this is pretty much what we would have designed anyway. So I'm going to get to cutting this up now. Nerd. reckon this literally needs to come?
So if I buy
Right, more chopping. Just pointing down like that, you could boost it round and up into that. Not quite flame though, is it? It's more like Sonic. What does Sonic look like? We've gone from flames to Sonic. Do you know what it kind of looks like when they go Super Saiyan?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Then
Yeah, you kind of want Goku's hair, bro.
Yeah, like Super Saiyan. Super. STS, sweet.
So it'll have to sit underneath like this with the logo.
That's cool.
Yeah, you're happy with that? I've curved off, I've made it a lot smoother. Monday morning?
Monday morning. Day, what, 2? Like 2 whole days?
Of this?
Maybe
2.5.
yeah, so maybe like 20 odd hours of design time. Well, luckily for us, we've obviously been able to pull off all of this this information out of our previous models that we've done before. So this is things like where the stator mounts to, the ignition trigger pickup, all of the space for the gaskets and rubber things that go in there. But as you can see, the boost dog has come to life. So pretty straightforward in the way that it's designed, but what we've designed is essentially a case that extends up and mounts the supercharger to, and then this obviously mounts to the engine. On the back here we've got a reservoir for the traction fluid which sits underneath where the supercharger is meant to sit, and then in here, if I hide do this, then you can see the belt system. So you see the 2 little bosses that we mount the belt guard to, but obviously the pulley here and another pulley here. We've got machined this pulley, and then we've got a belt tensioner here. So we'll just do that by hand, but this is actually a tooth belt. So what I'm going to do now is just going to 3D print a couple of little bits just to make sure that everything fits, and then I'm going to send this off to machining, and then by the time I'm back off my holiday in about a week or so's time, we should be mounting up the boost dog, and yeah, probably hearing it run for the first time actually, if we can get an exhaust built for it. So yeah, really looking forward to that, but really happy with what it come out with so far. But I'll explain some more of these features when we got it in our hands in metal. No, just going to print the last. It's actually not the last print, so we've actually finalised all the design on the supercharger casing now, but I'm going to print off a little piece that holds the supercharger where we need it to be held, so we can then make the compressor housing link pipe from the compressor housing to the plenum while I'm on holiday in Greece. So when I say we, I mean Evan. Right guys, as is usually the way at Thornton 100, we've moved at 1,000 miles an hour and we didn't have the camera on it at all times, but we did with this bike end up going to a Bremont event, which is a luxury UK manufactured watch company, and we ended up putting the brand new paint on to take to the event. So lots of people have seen it, you may have seen it on our Instagram, but check it out guys. Came up with. So it's a P51 Mustang inspired paint job, so a real nod to that kind of hardcore engineering and a really cool colorway that I really like. So we've got the yellow at the front, black stripes, and that silvery aluminium kind of style as well. So we've obviously got the methanol sticker on here as well in the orange finish, and we'll probably have to have an orange circular sticker if you go to any motorsport events as well, because methanol is going to burn clear, potentially having some issues if we do set it on fire and blow it up. So I don't know how the f we're gonna make this work. It's tight as shit. No fucking idea. So f***ed.
600 quid worth of aluminium on the floor.
That is really well. Nice set.
12 seconds later.
We decided to completely bin off that Plenum. It just wasn't going to do what we thought it was going to do, and to be fair, I just wasn't happy with the finish on it as well. So we've designed one completely from scratch. Going to get that on print soon, and hopefully it will fit onto this really nicely as well. So as you can see, we've come up with a full 3D printed version that holds the Rotrex C15 supercharger in there. You can see the way that the belt runs as well. And you can see how the engine case looks with the Boost Dawg logo on there as well. So we've actually had this machined in metal as well. So we'll have a look at that in a little bit, see what it looks like. So we're going to chuck all that on, and then we need to get to designing the Plenum. So we're going to be working off 3D scans, and then we're going to be chucking this all into CAD, engineering all of this and creating something that boosts the air out of this compressor housing, mixes it with the water meth to cool it, and then boosts it into the engine here as well. So I absolutely cannot wait to see this bike getting a little bit close to finish, so stay tuned to see what we get up to. Right guys, so the day has finally come and we've had our Boost Dawg engine case completely CNC machined, and it has just turned up, and this looks absolutely insane if I do say so myself as well. So a really cool looking bit of kit. So obviously this incorporates the hole for the spigot drive off the end of the crankshaft. We've got a couple of posts here, and that is for our belt guard. We've got a tensioner mount, we've got the supercharger mount. Around the back here as well, we've got all of our alternator and also ignition trigger pickup points as well. And we've also got a reservoir, as you can see here. Now this reservoir is to hold the traction fluid, which is basically a fluid that the supercharger system runs within itself. And then we've got this nice little back plate here as well, which will bolt on here with a little gasket that will sit in there, and we use some O-ring string to seal that as well. So it's time to get all of this coated. We've got to get this slightly modified as well, because actually we made a slight change as well, so this will need to be made again. So that can go in the bin, but this can all be coated now. We can get it onto the bike and then get it in there with that test fit 3D printed Plenum, and then we'll get the Plenum machined, and then we're pretty much ready for some dyno work.
To 6 weeks later.
You want to know something about Loctite?
Yeah.
I think it's called an anaerobic reaction. So Loctite actually, that sat there will never go off, and the only time it goes off is in the absence of oxygen, which these bottles, you can't buy like massive bottles of Loctite, because these bottles are actually breathable. They have some air in them. So the bottles, if they were too big, the Loctite in the middle of all of the Loctite would start going off.
Top tips with Yup, top tips with Jody.
Locked in.
Love this paint. I think we should leave it all silver and raw, just because it's kind of like P51 Mustang-esque. I don't know why we've gone down this route. I think it's just because I saw one on Instagram and I was like, oh, let's paint it that colour. What an idiot. Yeah, cool. It's been a bit of a build, this one, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Get a minute.
Cool, dude. I reckon another few weeks will be sweet. I'm not going to make any changes to this. I'm just going to get it made.
Sick.
One debt to society later.
Christmas. Evan, bro, you got to come and look at this. This was 3,000 quid. Now we can crack on with Boost Dawg. But this was a lot of money. But it was the best way that we could have made this. The only way. Look at that. Look, who am I?
Boost Dawg.
I'm a C15 Rotrex supercharger.
3D printed aluminium.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That's correct.
That's laser sinter, selective laser sintering. So you can see the layer lines in it. So it was printed like that. I'm not sure which was the top. This was the top layer. You can see it here. But yeah, so you scrape a thin film of aluminium, and then you laser it, and then you do it again, and then you laser it, and then you just keep doing that, and it was built like that. And yeah,
Clever.
and it's got internal baffles. So there's a baffle in here which guides the air to cylinder 2. It like pumps it back up and round and splits, and then so it does them evenly. You couldn't really do that with any other way of manufacturing it. Oh, it's gonna look sweet, isn't it? This boost Dawg project has gone from me like, oh, I reckon we'll do it for like £3 grand. Definitely in it for like 6 now. Yeah, you can get this bolted up, and then that's done. What I haven't shown you is the oil hoses for the outlet, the inlet. They go around here and they plug into the back of the boost Dawg engine casing under here. So in here, you have your feed in the top, you come back down here, and then you have your drawer from the bottom, and there's a filter that will go in line there as well. So this was machined wrong through no fault of our own, apart from it was our fault because I designed it wrong. Have we spoken about this yet?
No.
Yeah, this arrived. It was actually left over from Evo Bobber, and we didn't use it on Evo Bobber. But I thought it'd be nice if I didn't have a bike that would like try and deafen me every time I use it. So now we got this, and I had a leftover boost Dawg thing. It's a bit wobbly, a little bit tight. You know what? You're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer for the boost Dawg. But Wednesday next week, we'll be done, and then we've got to do some wiring, haven't we, Evan?
Haven't I?
I'm going to tell you how to do it, and you're just going to do it because you know how, you know which crimps go where, and I know where the wire's got to go. So maybe I need to tuning.
The following Thursday.
Let's finish this f***ing bike off once and for all. I've been off for the last week. Been ill, COVID. So I've come back. In the background, the fairies that operate in Thornton 100 late at night when the cameras aren't here have been doing fairy things, like putting in temperature sensors and ethanol injectors, or what meth injectors. So what I'm going to do today is, as you can see, I'm taking off the clutch cover, so I'll show you what we're doing with there as well. But hopefully today, by the end of the day, we're going to get this thing running. And because of the timescales on this project, it just keeps getting pushing back. What we're going to do is we're going to split this video. So hopefully today we'll get it running, and you'll see how all of the supercharger system works. And then the next video will show you all about the plumbing on the water meth, and also how we're going to wire it with our limit level sensors and stuff like that, and also show you the exhaust. And then we're going to take it for a dyno as well. So we're going to show you half this video, half the next video, because we can't get our together basically. So it's going to be cool though.
We can get. Someone just keeps deciding to do weak projects.
Oh yeah, I just keep deciding to do week-long projects like through dark and restoration, and then I just completely cooked myself and then got ill. So we're better now though. So with this bike, we're going to be generating lots more power, and because we're going to be generating lots more power, we need a clutch that can hold up to it. Now this bike's already got 120 horsepower at the wheel, or 116 at the wheel, which sounds like a lot, but it hasn't got a huge amount of torque. So what we need to do is we need to increase the pressure on the clutch pack. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add a pressure plate that's been custom made for us, Thornton 100. This is my design, but as you can see, we've got these like raised things, so we're going to add the pressure. So we're going to increase the pressure on the clutch plate, and that will allow us to Hey caramba. That'll allow us to put loads of power through this clutch without destroying it, hopefully. Anyway, so you've got to undo these nice and evenly. You don't put any unnecessary pressure on it. So what you do is you whip them out, and as you can see, this is flat. So we're adding all of this extras. I think it's about 5mm. I actually designed this for WFB2. So this was probably designed nearly 2 years ago. So yeah, just adds all of that pressure on those clutch plates, and you wouldn't believe how much extra pressure you're going to get, but it's going to make the clutch really hard to pull in. But it does look cool.
So how does this work? How does it?
So it adds, so you see the springs here, you've got the clutch plate. Clutch plates in here. Springs and steel. So we're just gonna squeeze this all harder by squishing up the springs tighter. So yeah, this was sort of.
So by adding those spaces, you're compressing the springs.
You're compressing the springs more, and you're asking it to essentially, yeah, put more pressure on that clutch. So you can see, well, you probably can't see. Anyway, we're squishing the springs up more. So yeah, and it looks cool, doesn't it? Doesn't that look cool? It's a shame that that's going to get hidden away for the rest of forever. But
well, for the rest of forever until it inevitably gets opened up in a few
I
minutes.
inevitably blow it up or destroy it doing some sort of stupidness.
Great.
What are we doing about it? It's going back on. I've put a new gasket on there. Do you know what it is? Not a customer's bike. So, whack them on, man. Just get it done. Get it on there. Because that, I guarantee, that's going to come off like another 79 more times, probably. No matter. Right, clutch is done.
That's some seriously high clearance foot pegs right there, man.
High ground clearance foot peg, one on the website. You can have high ground clearance.
Top right corner of the video. This. Elite.
Watch how easy this is to install. It's not easy to install. It's fucking hard as fuck. Water meth injector. So this is now going to fog into here. This has internal baffles, which brings all of the compressed air around here and then pushes it up into cylinder 1, cylinder 2, sorry, and cylinder 1 here. But what this does is this fogs water meth into this whole thing, and then I can just tell the temperature just by this thing here as well. And by thing I mean Bosch temperature sensor, of course. That's not that bad to do, it's just a lot of fiddling. Right, throttle position sensor, so that one goes down there. This is a drive-by-wire, but all of this needs to go above, and then what I need to do is expertly slide this in here. Oh god, this is millimeter precision. I'm doing that ASMR thing again where I whisper when I'm doing things. Still not. Ooh! Alright. Okay. Oh! Look at that, it just fell in. Like, fell in there. Like, you couldn't have, like, had that go in any easier. In fact, it just required a little... Okay, so, somehow, on some miracle, we've got to wiggle everything and just wiggle it, get it all sat home. So that will go there, that will go there, and that holds there. That will come and hold that there. There you go. Oh, it is a bugger to get in, but shh, that looks neat, doesn't it? That looks neat. I mean, the way that we could have made this way more expensive and complicated is if we put Wiggins clamps in here, but I think they would have just made it really difficult. This is a Wiggins clamp. Now this is a nice setup, but like this clamp, like that's how you disconnect that, and then you slide that little thing off. But if you've ever used a Wiggins clamp, you'll know they're an absolute nightmare to use. So, and to be fair, I don't think we would have. I don't think, not in this application. I don't think you would have got them in tight enough. But damn, that's a neat looking supercharged system. So what I'm going to do now is just plug everything in, get our inlet in. So we've got our inlet tube. Get this all clamped up, get that slid in there, get everything nice. Put our little throttle body caps on, and then should be good to start her up.
It's like a glitch.
Have you got any sort of inline filter? Because I'm gonna just fill this up. Oh, like that. Spill it everywhere. I'm filling the oil up, so we know that we're gonna need lots of these rags, because I'm gonna spill it everywhere. I filled that up. I know that, look, here it really wants something. It's like a fuel filter. Project boxes, where special projects come to die. Oh.
I mean,
Well,
you literally couldn't get anything, well, more suited.
what I found.
What you found?
Yeah, I found it. Magic cup strips again. So what we do when we start this engine up is we just don't want this to be running dry, as it were, running dry. So you want it spinning up with no oil already in the lines, if you know what I mean. So what we do is
What could happen if it does spin up dry?
what could happen? Look at this mess. Right, did I touch the coolant? I did Pistons, right? Which means I would have had to have done coolant. Got no coolant there. It's the best thing about having like everything filmed. You can show me the video of me putting coolant in.
I have a video of you spilling coolant all over the place.
Oh, there it is. Let's put some. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? One thing I'm going to be checking for initially is going to try and get this pump through here. Make sure that's running true. Just give it some oil. So, now we're good. Good on traction fluid, so let's give her a... That sounds wild. Sounds absolutely rowdy, doesn't it?
My ears hurt.
My ears hurt.
Ah.
That is very, 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 very loud. But obviously got to do a bit of work to it still before we get it rolling. But
Can we just point out the irony of how obviously it's painted in a P51 Mustang style?
yeah,
It sounds like one.
it does sound like one. It sounds absolutely insane. So I'm gonna do a bit of fettling. Mental, doesn't it? It's obviously so far off being mapped, but it's just so straight away, instant, because we've got no intercooler piping, no intercooler. It's just from compressor housing to there, compressor housing straight to plenum, and it is loud, very, 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 very loud. We need to get our fuel throttle body caps in. The supercharged system bled itself nicely, which I'm quite happy about. So you can see it when you've got the cap off. This will be flowing in here, so it's flowing down. It's coming down here. We've got a magnetic sump plug under there just in case, and then we have our oil filter under there as well, pushing itself back up into the going through the supercharger and flowing back round. That's not connected to the engine oil. That's a completely its own separate system. So yeah, it sounds mental, doesn't it? It just sounds absolutely wild. So
Yeah.
proper bit of kit. So you get a proper bolt ordered for the well, get the air filter on, get everything sorted, yeah, get it to mapping. So see you in the next one.